Peace will fill the world when we finally understand that only from within can it be spread throughout the land. Every single person living peace in what we do, only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.
Good morning, friends. I'm Leona Evans, minister at Unity of San Luis Obispo, an inclusive, progressive, spiritual community affirming the good in all life. Welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. I am absolutely delighted that you chose to spend this time with us. I know that this morning service is going to be inspiring, informative, and that we will have a better idea about who we are and what our purpose is in life. Unity is a very powerful teaching. It teaches the goodness of all life. It teaches the one presence and one power, the power of unconditional love. And it teaches that everything is spiritual if we choose to see it that way. Yes, we do have the power of choice, and often we forget it because we seem to be assimilated into the way things are or the way things always have been. But I can promise you this, that running alongside every traditional religious teaching, there has been a mystical teaching. A mystical teaching that talks about the oneness of all life and the ability of each of us to behold the Spirit of God not only in ourselves, but in all others. And so this is what we teach, this is what we talk about, this is what we aspire to understanding. And it requires our full attention. So, breathe deeply once again. And just relax, become comfortable, and let us affirm together, I am now open and receptive to the living Spirit of truth. Once again, I am now open and receptive to the living Spirit of truth. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning. Today we're going to sing There's Never Been a Better Time by Mark Welch. Please sing along with the lyrics on the bottom of the screen. There's never been a better time to be of this earth. Never been a better time to rise. Never been a better time to see our full worth. Let our scattered vision realign. There's never been a better time to start a new life. Never been a better time for truth. Never been a better time to turn it all around. Catch up to the dreams we have pursued. Enter this time of holy invitation to celebrate life. A billion years we have been in preparation. Well, now the time is here for us to free up every part of us. Step into the whole of what we are. There's never been a darker time to radiate the light. Never been a darker time to see. Never been a darker time so filled with possibilities. We're breathing in the darkness to be free. There's never been a better time to crawl out of the past. Never been a better time for humans. Never been a better time for this whole universe. Let fall away the cloak of ignorance. Enter this time of holy invitation to celebrate Well, now the time is here for us to free up every part of us, step into the whole of what we are. There's never been a better time to be of this earth, never been a better time to rise, never been a better time to be of this earth, never been a better time to rise, never been a better time to be of this earth, never been a better time to rise. Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew J. Evans. That was just lovely. There's never been a better time to be on this earth, so filled with opportunity, so much of a challenge to us, and yet there is something inside each one of us. And that something is our soul that yearns to experience and express our unity of spirit, that yearns to embrace our brothers and sisters all around the world, that yearns for a way of life that's free of enemies and taking sides and standing against. There's so much that we stand against. And yet there's that amazing teaching called nonresistance. What a word. What an incredible term to describe this feeling of unconditional unity and acceptance. But you know, so many of us have been conditioned to believe that non-resistance is some sort of high state that we must evolve to, where everything is okay with us. We never raise our voice. We sit, we meditate, we contemplate the beauty of the earth, and that's it. Well, friends, I want to share another point of view, especially in relationship to the term resistance. We have been told not to resist. Don't resist. Don't resist. Be non-resistant. Be peaceful. Be calm. Be poised. And so I ask you to consider that maybe non-resistance doesn't involve imposing a state of passivity on ourselves. Because you see, as spiritual beings learning to have a human experience, we've got work to do. We've got a creative process to fulfill. We are active individuals, part of the entire beauty of creation itself, which is ever evolving, ever moving toward greater and greater levels of expression. There are times when we can be passive, but a lot of the time we need to be active. And so we seem, those of us in spiritual work, and I've heard this many, many times over the years, how do we develop this idea of non-resistance, assuming it means passivity, when in fact there are many things in our daily lives that we do resist? How is it possible to create some sort of synergy from this paradox of resistance and non-resistance? Well, first of all, I'd like to share this. Non-resistance is not about being passive. It is about a wholeness in consciousness, a confidence, an inner faith, an inner strength in which we are able and willing to accept life as it is, and then to make choices about what works for us and what doesn't. Now, I just want to say, for those of us who think from a dualistic perspective, we think, well, either we're non-resistant or we're resistant, and resistance means pushing away, and it's all negative, and it's not positive at all. And non-resistance is just floating in the middle of not this and not that. But resistance has a very positive influence on our world. Resistance causes things to happen very often. It's a catalyst. When you put rosin on your bow, when Matthew is ready to play bass with his bow, he puts rosin on it, which creates a resistance, which combined with the ease of the bow makes a more beautiful sound. If he didn't put that resistant factor on his bow, he'd be sliding off the instrument. It wouldn't make any sense. It would be unrestricted and therefore unfocused. As a ballet dancer, when I arrived at a performance in a venue I hadn't been at, and I asked the others, "How's the floor?" That's the first question a dancer asks, "How's the floor?" And the answer is, it's either slippery or very slippery or not so slippery, in which case the dancer decides how much rosin to put on the bottom of our ballet shoes. It's very, very important because, again, one would slide mercilessly, be totally out of control. In electricity, resistance is a very important component in creating heat in so many other ways that are beyond my ability to explain technically, but I think I've made my point. There is a place in this world for resistance, again, to act as a catalyst that will support us in our creative process. I do want to mention here that we've talked about this type of dynamic when we've mentioned the dialectic, the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. The thesis is a movement forward. The antithesis is a recognition that there's more to it than we thought. The synthesis is a reconciling of the two opposites to create a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. So, if we change the definition of resistance to include the fact that everything in creation has a purpose, we will see that it's not resistance that's the problem. It's a misuse of the concept of resistance that's the problem. We say, I have heard this said many times, in unity, we don't resist. And yet, I don't know how that's possible. We just seem to give it a negative connotation. But as I have said many times, in this world, in this creative experience that we call life, every single thing has a purpose. And it's up to each of us as co-creators with Spirit to decide how we're going to use these different ideas, because they can be used in the highest form, the most positive, and also in the most heinous and the most negative. And we are capable of experiencing both. And that's why we meditate, and that's why we affirm good judgment. And so in this case, we're going to redefine the concept of resistance and non-resistance. And we will do that right after we hear a wonderful piece of music from Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans.
Here's one of my favorite songs. I first saw it when I was going to New York University down in the village on a crisp fall day. It was words by Dory Previn and music by Fred Karlin from the movie The Sterile Cuckoo, starring Liza Minnelli. Come Saturday morning. It's just always been one of my favorites. One, two, three. Come Saturday morning, I'm going away with my friend. Will Saturday spend till the end of the day? Just I and my friend will travel for miles in our Saturday smiles, and then we'll move on. But we will remember long after Saturday's gone. Come Saturday morning, I'm going away with my friend. We'll talk and we'll walk and we'll laugh and we'll play. Just I and my friend, with secrets to tell in that Saturday spell. Then we'll move on, but we will remember long after Saturday's gone. Saturday morning, I'm going away with my friend. Saturday spent till the end of the day. Just I and my friend will travel for miles in our Saturday smiles, and then but we will remember long after Saturday's gone. Come Saturday morning, come Saturday morning. Come Saturday morning, Fred Carlin and Dory Previn, 1969.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. Just beautiful. It's a wonderful song, and that song illustrates the concept of non-resistance that we usually attribute to happy times, carefree times, times when we feel balanced and when we're not challenged. And yes, those are wonderful times. It's a great song and it evokes wonderful memories, I think, for most of us. But what happens when life presents another side? Well, I think a lot of us know what that means because of the COVID pandemic that we've lived through, and we just give thanks that we've had the opportunity to live through it, and again bless all those who have died. It's very, very difficult to not be angry, to not feel a resistance in the negative sense to people that might have been responsible for it or whom we think are responsible. And there's so much blaming and shaming and criticism and all kinds of opportunities for people on this planet, myself included, to pick on people and say it's their fault, it's this place and it's that person and it's that political party and it's that, and it's really awful and I hate it. Yep, stress brings that out in us. We're just so used to stuffing negative feelings that we don't, as the term that was introduced to me in the 80s, we don't get in touch with our feelings. I can't tell you how many years I asked my instructors and people who lectured, what does that mean? What do you mean get in touch with my feelings? These are my feelings. I just yelled for 5 minutes and now you know what my feelings are. Well, I finally came to understand that getting in touch with our feelings is not the same as witnessing them or participating in them. It is the ability to understand what is at the root of those feelings of resistance and the pain that comes with being unable to lift ourselves from that level of negativity and being bound in oppositional relationships with, I don't know, half the people in countries around the world that don't agree with us because we have this definition that resistance is negative. Of course, when we're ready to express our anger, we don't usually take that into consideration. What we do is express what we're feeling at the moment and express the pain of having to go through it. And yes, that's a form of resistance. But there's another way to handle it. Another way to aspire to, another way that in many instances in our lives we already practice. But since we don't define resistance in a positive way, we're not necessarily able to identify it. So, if we get another more inclusive meaning to the term resistance, let it be something like this. Resistance is the unwillingness to cooperate with an idea or an activity. It's saying no to something that we feel is not just out of our comfort zone, but that offends us morally and ethically. We have the power to say no. In fact, to quote Jesus, who said, "Let your speech be either yea, yea, or nay, nay," the greatest power we have is the ability to say yes and the ability to say no. But you see, if we take the old definition of non-resistance, which doesn't include no, it just includes a kind of a passive, mildly pleasant response to things, we don't get to include that in our personal expression. We feel we have to stay away from it. Again, dualistic thinking. In unity, which subscribes to the philosophy of monism, M-O-N-I-S-M, which means one. Dualism is two powers. So we have one power. That power is spirit. Both non-resistance and resistance are on a spectrum of the same idea. They're not two things, one to accept and one to get rid of. We don't get rid of things in the divine economy. We transform them. And so, again, resistance is the ability to say no to an idea which offends our sensibilities or something we choose not to participate in because we don't believe it will result in a greater good. Non-resistance is unconditional acceptance. It is not pleasant or unpleasant. It is what it is. If something happens that's tragic, we cry. If something happens that is delightful, we laugh. It is what it is at any given moment, and that is non-resistance. And what does that look like? What does that sound like? If I am non-resistant, I will recognize feelings that come up in me that are based in a deep frustration that things are not the way I want them to be or the way I think they should be. I will recognize them. I will accept them. I won't argue with myself about whether I should have them or not. I won't brush them under the table. I won't pretend they're not there. I will recognize exactly how I feel. That's what it means to get in touch with our feelings, to be able to recognize what it is that we're feeling, and many times even why. Why does that upset me so? Is there a little voice inside of me that said everyone should always get along with each other? Is there a little voice inside of me that says if I don't like something, people won't like me? I mean, what am I getting in touch with? What am I recognizing that's triggering this response? And so I might or might not get in touch with it. All I know for sure in that moment is I'm very disgruntled and dissatisfied over what I heard, over what someone did or didn't do, or there's a situation there that is not serving our planet and is not serving human rights and social justice, and I don't like it. And so I have a choice. You see, if I'm non-resistant, I've already accepted the resistance, and now I have a choice. How do I express it? Well, see, in the old days, I would be arguing with myself, don't bother expressing it, you'll get into trouble. It's a lost cause, don't worry about it, just stuff it, just get rid of it. But no, with non-resistance, I say, yes, there is something here that begs to be changed, in my opinion. And I am going to stand up in favor of civil rights, in favor of inclusiveness, in favor of anti-racism. I will stand up, but I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to hit, I'm not going to shoot, I'm not going to curse. I have chosen to meet this situation with nonviolent resistance. Nonviolent resistance. There have been great leaders throughout the years who have taught us. Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr. There are great masters throughout the world who have understood that resistance itself is not a negative term, that we don't have to have inner conflict with what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. What we need to do is accept the fact that there is unrest within us, be able to identify it, be able to understand it, and be able to stand in front of our opponents and say or indicate, I have nothing against you. I am in favor of changing your ideas, and I will resist your efforts legally and in as calm a fashion as I can, in as nonviolent a way as I can, to make sure that my voice is heard. That to me is the perfect opportunity to resist and non-resist, to be able to no longer think of non-resistance as being half asleep in some monastery where nothing disturbs the calm peace of our soul, and let go of the old belief about resistance, which is something negative, and somehow, we should agree with everybody or at least not disagree. Those belong in the past. And for us to be the change we wish to see, we need to embrace nonviolent resistance and be non-resistant to the feelings and the ideas that come up for us, and learn to channel them in a way that focuses on healing the problem as we understand it. Now, we also have to accept the fact that there are going to be others who disagree vehemently with what I just said. We have to accept that instead of believing that life shouldn't be that way. There's only one right way, and I know what it is, right? Oh, we get so upset when other people do that. Yeah, one right way and God's on my side. Well, we do it too. And that is committing passive violence when we truly believe that other people should not be around to interfere with our way of life. We should get rid of them by whatever means. I accept the fact, and I believe we need to accept the fact with non-resistance, that there are people that would see us dead. Isn't that why we are working toward moving from a culture of violence to a culture of peace? Can't we just disagree with one another without wishing each other harm or having to resort to primal brain or reptilian brain activities in order to make our point? Non-resistance, the ability to acknowledge what is, to stay with the subject, to honor our own divine soul's mission to step forward and recognize that we are resisting an existing law or an existing way of life that does harm to people's freedoms. And we resist that. We don't resist the individuals. As a matter of fact, not only do we not resist the individuals, but we love them because they were created by the one presence and the one power, as I was. We are cut from the same cloth. By divine design, we're inextricably linked with one another in the most profound ways, and we can't afford to hate anybody. We simply cannot afford it. The universe needs us. There are people that need all of us. Of course, we're going to disagree. Of course, we're going to need to go through a great deal of processing. But what we don't need to do is spend our time resisting the wrong things, resisting people. If I resist someone, if I hate someone, if I want to get rid of someone because they get in my way or on my nerves, then that's a heck of a place to be in. It's a very difficult place to be in because we lose our power to accept ourselves even when we're not in our highest form. We lose our power to make changes. We lose our power to express divine love, even though it's not necessarily personal, because most of these people we don't know anyway. We've heard rumors about them, but we don't know them. It's not a wise idea to focus what we are standing up and resisting to a person. It's an idea. And so once again, non-resistance is acceptance. There will be struggles in the world. There will always be something to disagree with. There will always be things that aren't going our way, and yet there will always be that presence and power within us that says, I do not choose to cooperate with that idea. I do not choose out of the highest level of integrity within me, not because I'm in an oppositional behavior pattern or because I feel like disagreeing. No, it's got to be from the highest level of life and love. And so, let's think about that a lot. Let's remember to keep our observer self on our shoulder, metaphorically speaking, because it's within the spectrum of our own consciousness. And let us watch, stay in touch with our feelings, and act on our highest ideals in a non-violent, non-resistant, and yet resistant way. Breathe deeply now and relax into this moment of contemplation, meditation, and integration of the subject of non-resistance and our ability to resist and stand up to any idea that is not in accordance with our highest ideals. We give thanks that we are equipped with the strength, the faith, and the power to understand the difference between the way we respond to ideas and to people. The ideas that promote violence and intolerance, we stand up to, we resist, and we do not behave in like fashion. We resist those ideas in love and in light and in spiritual power. We stand for oneness and wholeness and love for the souls of all humanity, regardless of their beliefs. We are united. We are at one with all life. And we celebrate acceptance, respect, understanding, and compassion. Without feeling the rage and the pain and the frustration of non-action. God is, I am. And so it is. Amen. It's time now in our service to bless the offering that we would share. Unity of San Luis Obispo is a mighty spiritual community, mighty to receive our good and to share our good with others. Please know that as you give, so shall you receive. This is the law of giving and receiving, the law of reciprocity. Give and receive 30, 60, 100-fold in accordance with the law. Let's speak the words of our prosperity statement together. I give in love because I love to give. God is my source.
Here is a tune from 1931, a tune called Sweet and Lovely. Boy, I don't like that anymore. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. sweet and lovely. Isn't it so? Don't you think, Matthew?
Oh, indeed it is.
See?
Indeed it is. That was great, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. What a wonderful, wonderful song. Let's sing our peace song, shall we?
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let's speak the words of our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Friends, please remember to press the like button and also share your comments with us. They're always welcome. I would also like to remind you to listen to the Get Off Your Affirmation podcast. This week, we're featuring part 2 of the Jack Canfield interview that I did with him back in 1997. His words are timeless, even more relevant today than they've been before. Have a wonderful week. You deserve it.
Every single person living peace in what we do. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.